So let's take a look at among the facts now known about the underpants bomber, this 23-year-old Nigerian student, are these. And thanks to the World Socialist website.org, WSWS.org, for the information here. Among the facts known are the following. Abdul Muttalib's father is a prominent retired banker and ex-government minister. He had visited the U.S. Embassy in Abuja more than a month before the attempted bombing to warn CIA officials that his son had become involved with al-Qaeda elements in Yemen. Dad provided them with information with which the young man could have been located, and the father followed up his visit with at least 2 phone calls. Okay? Next, for at least 4 months, U.S. intelligence had information from Yemen that al-Qaeda operatives there were preparing, quote, a Nigerian, end quote, for a terrorist attack against the U.S. Also, the information from Yemen was further substantiated by the National Security Agency's interception of communications discussing preparations for an impending attack and the use of the Nigerian. All of this is floating out there. See, all this information U.S. intelligence had. The CIA had, the National Security Agency had. Now, adding to this, Abdul Muttalib's ticket, $2,800, was paid for with cash, apparently at the last minute, and he made this trip on the Northwest Airlines airplane, having checked no baggage. All he had was a backpack. And then, the real icing on the cake, I guess, I think it'll prove to be the icing on the cake. There's the story told by a passenger on the plane, a Michigan lawyer named Kurt Haskell, who claims that he saw Abdul Muttalib approach the airline ticket counter in Amsterdam, accompanied by a well-dressed South Asian man who told the Northwest ticket agent that the young Nigerian needed to fly without a passport. The older man told the agent, quote, he's from Sudan. We do this all the time, end quote. That's according to Kurt Haskell, the Michigan lawyer. He said that the agent then directed them to the office of the airline's local manager. Now, normally, any one of these things would have triggered the scrutiny before this guy was allowed to board the plane. But once again, just like in the wake of the September 11, 2001 attack, the government and the media, our government, our media, are peddling the explanation that all of these extraordinary lapses were the product of mere negligence or a failure to connect the dots. Well, what is this administration or American media supposed to do at this point? See? Because they're not going to come out, mainstream government, mainstream media, they're not going to come out and say, look, this whole thing stinks. This looks obviously as though it were a plot put together by U.S. intelligence, facilitated by U.S. intelligence, put together by the so-called powers that be in this country who want to stop Barack Obama. As conservative as he is, he's not what the corporatists want. 8 years after 9/11, with all of the still unanswered questions surrounding the attacks that were used to justify an explosion of American militarism, this attempt to gloss over an event that nearly cost the lives of 300 people with this stupid-ass metaphor, they didn't connect the dots, in my opinion, doesn't hold water at all. Now, if this is to be examined seriously, what happened on Christmas Day, the question has to be asked, what would have happened had this flight been destroyed? What would have happened? Well, there's no question that such a catastrophe would have had immense repercussions, both internationally and within the United States. It would have seriously destabilized the Obama administration. It would have politically strengthened the most extreme right-wing sections of the corporatist ruling class in this country. And it would have cleared the way for an even more massive expansion of military intelligence operations overseas and a drastic curtailing of democratic rights, those that are left here at home. Right? Even the failed attempt has touched off a firestorm of criticism by the Republican crazy people in this country of the Obama administration's supposed laxity in the face of terrorism. Don't forget, let's just not mince words here. We know what the right wing in this country wants. They want an end to representative government, the little bits and shreds that are still available. And they're very few. But there's still the possibility, you see, that legislation can leak through that is not what the ruling elites in this country, that would be the corporatists, really want. So in order to bring it all to a stop, there has to be an ironclad stranglehold on U.S. government and media, represented by these crazy Christians, these crazy right-wing Republicans, and these crazy corporatists who don't give a goddamn whether you or your children or anything about you lives or dies. You are dog snot to them. You are nothing. You don't matter. And if 300 of you have to die, or 300 of us have to die in order to make the point again, okay. What do we call it in Afghanistan? We call that collateral damage, don't we? We'll be right back.